So we missed my wonderful little monologue there that I just started with, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and if anybody has any thoughts or comments that wants to start out with a question or just even something that you've noticed, or like I said, sharing something that you've read or listened to on a recent webinar, the floor is yours.
Lonnie, this is Mary. I'll just throw this out there. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I do think we continue, and for us, that has meant both connecting with our corporate donors, like show sponsors, as well as our individual donors. What we have done is just, at least for our corporate donors, is approached, taken a little bit different approach. A lot of them had already committed for next season on paper, but not paid. And some of them hadn't committed on paper yet. One or two have said, things have changed, they're not gonna be able to do it. So we have been sending notes out to them saying, hey, we realize this is an unusual situation. We really hope you'll still support us. We can adjust your payment schedule or divide your payments, rather than just having to pay it all up front at a certain date. So we're trying to give them a little bit more leeway rather than just, sticking to the routine we've had in the past, at least with those corporate sponsors.
Cool. Thanks, Mary. And just a reminder for those of us, just so that we don't have people trying to all talk at once, let's try to use the raise hand feature if you know where that is. Otherwise, you can certainly still just unmute yourself and start talking if you want, and try to remember to mute yourself again when you are finished talking. Thanks for starting us off, Mary. I'm glad to see Joe is here. He's gone through a crisis and may have some words of wisdom for us as we move forward here.
Okay, I had to find the mute button. Yeah, it's true that I've been through this before with the shutdown, but the fact is, when we were shut down in 2009, no one else was. So while there is a playbook at Grand that we can rely on, of how we did X, Y, Z, the rules are different. And I've stumbled more on the message than I ever have before, because it's the fact is, there's people got to fill their own glass first, and so it's tough. I mean, I wish I did have words. If I had a trick, I'd be doing it. I think probably the most important thing that we talk about is staying in front of people as much as we can, and reminding them that we're here. And more than ever, I'm not afraid to remind my board what my staff is doing, and remind the community that we're all here working while we can. But it's this is a unprecedented kind of thing that we're all going through.
Thanks.
That helped not at all, I think. Not at all.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I think it brings out a really important point that's been kind of a theme that I've been hearing too, which is this is such a difficult situation because we just, like you say, we don't have a playbook for this, because in most crises, we have a sense of when we'll be coming out of it. If you have a hurricane, you kind of have a sense of, okay, the damage has been done, and then you start rebuilding, and you can kind of gauge how long that might take. And then, the other very unique thing about the situation too, like you've said, Joe, is this is affecting everyone across the world. So it's not like another crisis situation where, a hurricane or something hits a certain segment of the population, and that there are others then that are in different regions that aren't necessarily affected and can kind of come to the aid and come and help out or with, finances or services and things. This is such an across the board thing that's affecting everybody. And that's, like you say, we, the only things that have been similar to this in our history, we haven't had the kind of technology or things, you know, that we have now. So it is a very new landscape. Jennifer.
Sorry, had to find the unmute button as well. I am from the Marcus Center, development associate there, and we have been reaching out to our corporate sponsors and donors and just letting them know that we're here, letting them know what's going on, even if they've gotten the e-blast from us, but really trying to make as many personal touches and trying to refocus some of their sponsorship activation. So we had a lot of restaurant partners that were going to be activating on their sponsorship in these spring shows that we had coming up. And so we're really trying to touch base with them and just kind of have open, honest conversations about how we can keep them as a partner and what we can do to help, because, you know, part of that partnership is the advertising and all of that for their sponsorship, and as much as we can do to help, we want to. So I think just really acting as much of a community as we can, particularly with our corporate donors, has been a big focus of what we're doing at the Marcus Center.
Thanks, Jennifer. That's really helpful. Yeah, one of the things that I read too was, you know, that your mission doesn't change through this. And as a matter of fact, for most of us, our missions become even more important and more timely. And that you know, the bringing people together and why we exist has become such an important part, and it's becoming very evident through this crisis, but that, you know, as you're reaching out to donors, remembering, you know, keeping that mission and that in the forefront of your mind. Sean.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned there with your mission. I was on a call last week and really liked the thing that it was broken down was that right now, focus your mission or focus your message on your vision, your mission, your vision, and your relevance. You know, why is your organization indispensable to your community, and how are you continuing to serve the community during this time? And I thought that kind of encapsulated everything, and that it was, you know, we can get caught in so many different things. Well, what if this scenario? What if that? You know, do people want to support us over basic needs? I mean, we can really go down a rabbit hole, and I liked that idea of, you know, there's a lot of other things, being flexible with your corporate sponsors, as we just talked about, things like that. But starting at the top level of, you know, why are you indispensable, and how are you still working, connecting with your community? Because that's, you know, at the end of it, that's why donors give, and that's why donors support us. So I really like that as the thing to sort of encapsulate everything.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, and one of the other things that I had heard too is that, you know, we serve people. And that is, you know, our missions are driven by serving people, and you know, if we can drill it down even further to remember that's what makes us vital, you know. And we're not necessarily serving people in the same way that the hospitals are, but the arts does have its place in that, you know, in the hierarchy of needs. So
Lonnie, I'm just interrupting in because I can't find the raise your hand thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is Mary again.
That's fine, Mary. You just
Can you tell me where it is?
I'll give you a free pass. No, I believe it's under participants, and then we'll get the participants list on the right hand of your screen, and it should be buttons at the bottom.
All right, thank you. I'll try that next time.
Okay.
I'm wondering if anyone else has considered like a special fund appeal for this situation, or what people's feelings are on that. We've been discussing it and have kind of mixed responses. I think we're going to do something both on a general basis, you know, whatever you can give will help, and also possibly targeting a small number of larger donors. But I'm just wondering what other people's thoughts are, or what they're hearing about, in addition to continuing what we've always done, you know, our usual donors and sponsors. What are the thoughts on doing a special appeal to help get through this situation?
That's a great question. Thanks, Mary. Who has the answer? Oh, good. Matt, and then Jackie.
Hello. We're exploring all the options we can, from government funding, from loans. Our own endowment makes an allocation to us every year. We're going to see if that could be increased this year. But we're kind of waiting on extra special requests to our donors till we have a better idea of how big is this? How long is this going to go on? What is the damage going to be? That article in American Theater that was shared was very disturbing. About 18 months till things might get back to normal for businesses like ours. Broadway could be closed through June and maybe the summer. All of that affects us, and all of that changes our situations. So I think that's definitely an option, but for us, we really want to have an end date so we see what is the damage. Will we still be here?
Yeah. Jackie?
I agree with Matt. That makes a lot of sense. And none of us really have that answer. We fortunately received a $25,000 matching donation. We've been quietly rolling it out, but the donor now wants to work with me to be a little bit more assertive with some of our other major donors. So I don't know what that's going to look like in the next week or so, but it might just be individual letters to major donors, but we are going to pursue that matching grant. The last time we did this, we doubled what we needed to raise. So I don't know if we can do that again, but it'd be nice to at least get 100% match. So we'll see where that ends up.
Thanks, Jackie. Jennifer.
Is anyone doing the Giving Tuesday now? I think it's on May 5th. I've been hearing a little bit about it, and I'm just curious to see if anyone is doing that and what their approach is for that.
I haven't, what Giving Tuesday now? I haven't heard of that. What is that?
Anne just posted a bunch in the chat.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Anne. Mary, go ahead.
I'm a little bit familiar with it from both this and my previous position. It's basically, normally it comes, I forget if it's the Tuesday before or the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and it's just a huge online giving push.
Okay.
In my previous position, we did it. We never got a lot out of it. I think we posted it last year for the shower, didn't get a lot. Because one of the things of it is, it's again, everyone's doing it. And in this case, literally on the same day. And I would think that this year there's going to be even more people than usual asking for money. And I think that people who would hear our message also hear it from us in other ways. We will probably get on. It's just a matter of doing it online. I want to say through Facebook. You can also do it through email. And it's just an appeal, like, to raise as much money as you can for people to give charitable donations on this one specific day. They're just moving it up from November to May. I've never talked to anyone who got a huge amount out of it, unless there was one organization I knew that did have a matching donor. So they could send out and say, everything we get on Giving Tuesday up to X amount is going to be matched. And I think that was more motivating for people who supported that cause to do it through that platform. But to just send the appeal out there, we didn't have real good luck. This year, I think we have more of a reason to ask, but we also have a lot more competition for dollars.
Lonnie, can I just say something about to finish up that? You know, we've always done it, and we get we get some money in. As Mary said, you know, it's not a lot. And I agree 100% that it's really been growing in the last few years. Just so many people use it now, and I think that would be quadrupled or, you know, a zillion times, because everybody's even hurting even more now. But having said that, I think it's not difficult to just put something on your website and send one message out to your donors saying, hey, it's Giving Tuesday, usually the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, but now in this time of need, we really need your help. And you wouldn't want to do it with your big donors, because you certainly want to take a more personal approach with them, but I think it doesn't hurt to at least have that option. You know, you want to give people as many ways to give money as they can. And so, you know, we're going to do it. We just put it out there and say, please help us, and please help all the organizations that are out there in the state that need your help. And so, you know, don't expect a lot, but you could get something.
Thanks, Anne. Are you raising your hand again, Anne? Or I'll lower your hand, but if you need to. Okay. I'll throw a question out there if nobody has anything pressing at the moment. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, appeals and things. What about the logistics of reaching our donors? Do we send emails? I don't know about you, but I've gotten 5 million emails from every business under the sun telling us we're still here. And yes, Coles, I know you're still here, and I know you'll be here long after the world ends. So thank you for your update. You know, how do we cut through all of that messaging, you know, if we are emailing? Or then is it a matter of, do we actually invest in sending mail, because people are home now, and maybe it is something that they'll feel like you've actually reached out and sent them something, and they may enjoy getting the mail, or they may be scared of the mail and they may think it has the virus on it. You know, what are some of these things that that we should be considering? And again, you know, as far as what has happened with our staffs or what we may be doing at home, you know, it may not be feasible to be reaching out via the phone, even though it would be great if we had, you know, time to give all of our donors and patrons calls and, you know, reach out that way, because we know they're home. So, you know, what are some logistics or things that your organization has done, or things that you're thinking about doing that you feel would be, you know, the right way to go, or some things that maybe you've done that didn't go over well? Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on that, those kinds of things? Diane?
I haven't used these earbuds before. Are we good? Or no?
Yep, I unmuted you. You're all good. Go ahead.
Okay. I've spent the last 2 or 3 days making videos for select groups of people, and I have a new respect for people in the news industry and movie makers in general, because oh my gosh, there's a learning curve, and I'm slow. But anyway, I've come up with a couple just little videos that we're going to email out just to specific populations, and hopefully they won't have something to read. It'll still be an email, but it might be amusing if nothing else, and it'll get across that message that yeah, we're still here, and if you could help, that'd be great, and rather than something else to read. So that's all we're doing. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it definitely is. Some of the emails I've kind of actually been enjoying from some of the agents have been the ones that they're just sending fun content, and you know, and it's kind of one of those things I can kind of like just look through it quickly and decide if I want to watch something or click on something, and if not, I can just delete it. But you know, that seems like one way to just reach out, but not be so, you know, have like this long letter or a lot of text on, you know, what you're doing, or, you know, again, I think we're all kind of over reading reading a response to COVID-19 or what, what's going on. So I think, yeah, what I've been talking with my development team about is that, just like keep it short and sweet. If we can put like a video or something that will, obviously our WPN video that just came out is great. And that's like the kind of thing that we want to be sharing across social media, and then certainly reaching out with like an email message and including that. So yeah, but like you say, Diane, the challenge is, creating the content is a lot of work. And again, we're all dealing with different realities with working from home and, what kind of resources we have available. So there's definitely the challenges with that. Anyone doing like a mailing or considering doing that? Because I mean, again, I'm not sure what resources you even have at home to do like a mass mailing to your donors. Kim?
I'm back.
Yay!
Internet bomb, I guess. We're sending out a postcard, just, touching, reaching out, saying hello, telling them, asking our donors not to, lose faith, have hope. We're going to get through this together, and we'll see you soon, hopefully. Though I have to admit, yesterday was a complete bomb for me when I started reading more about Live Nation talking fall of 21 before we have major shows. This whole thing with, it could be August, it could be January, a resurgence could come in January. I don't know. Yesterday was a bomb for me. I just was like, I don't know how we make plans and be financially responsible, because we still have to answer to our board.
Right.
It's just scary.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
I
trying to
know
get everybody.
Yeah. That's what this is about. That's what this is for. Yeah, I know I read something, yes, I think it was yesterday also, that some colleges now across the country are planning to not resume in-person classes until the January 2021 semester. And they're like rolling with it and already planning on that. So yes, crazy stuff.
I think so much is changing, and we've got all these kids that don't know what they're going to be doing. It can be paralyzing. Like, I hope I'm not the only one who has these thoughts, but it's just a tremendous change, and it gets overwhelming, but we're all in the same boat, and we're not going to sink.
No. We will rise. Yeah. And I especially feel for the students that are coming out of college right now and want to go into the arts field or the arts administration field. There was one student this morning on the Wisconsin creative stuff that had a very good positive perspective. She was actually very, very inspirational. So again, if you have a chance to check out those recordings, she's coming out of college and coming into this kind of crazy situation, but she kind of said this is a unique education for her that none of her other predecessors have. So it was a very positive outlook. Mary, and then Matt.
Yeah, my development person was talking about doing a mailing, and we also were kind of holding off because part of it was just determining, how wide a group would we spread it to? How many people is that? What's it going to cost? She started out with kind of a lengthy, wordy letter, and I said, I think it has to be a lot. Oh man, I'm just reading that chat message.
Yeah. Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah. Thanks for making our date.
I actually thought I heard that yesterday already, that governor was extending at least till mid-May. So
yeah, I just hadn't heard an actual date of how long it might be, and now we know. And I lost my whole train of thought.
Lindsay.
So she felt like she could do it from home. And we have allowed people to just come into the office, like for supplies, stationery, envelopes, use the printer, whatever. but we also really were debating how widespread do you do it? What format do you do? If we do a mailing, we'll definitely also do email and Facebook stuff, because with our variable audiences, everyone, reacts to a different way. So we felt like we might have to do a little of each, but including some type of either letter or postcard mailing, but it would be a request or an ask at some point.
Okay.
A lot of our older patrons just don't respond to email or Facebook. So for some of our regulars, we felt like we might have to do something by regular mail. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Matt?
I want to give a cyber hug to Kim, because I have the same feelings and emotions and paranoia. I specifically asked my board, you want me to continue booking next season? And they said yes. And so that's what I'm doing. I think where we might get some comfort is in our discussion tomorrow on the contracts, on new language that needs to reflect this unprecedented type of situation, because the language in the contracts is not very good. It's confusing, and I just want to pick up a gun and shoot somebody every time I read one of those paragraphs. So, but it's incredibly scary, but we're assuming there'll be a season, and so that's what we're going forward with.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I know you have to move forward. Stephanie?
Yep, I actually have a question for Joe. I saw that you put out an email. I don't remember if it was an e-blast or online, but you were pretty upfront in saying we needed X amount of dollars to get to this point or get through this date. I was just curious what the response has been. And then I also saw your Q&A that you did, the live thing. Is that eventually building towards getting your donors to have a greater understanding of the organization, hopefully, and understand the level of support needed? It turned out really great, so congrats on that.
The second answer is easier than the first. They're live Q&A, but then they're recorded and they remain on the YouTube channel. So to a certain extent, anytime I have an opportunity to explain to people something that I think goes beyond the live audience that's tuned in at the moment, I did choose to do that last night, explaining things like, I can say we're closed till July 15th, but we don't really know we're closed. We might be closed beyond that. There's no way of knowing that. The best thing to do is to stay in touch with us, I have chosen to be very blunt in answering anything I can, both with our board and with the public. I think it's foolish to just simply pretend that everything's gonna go all right and then find myself moving things forward from there. As far as the first question, yeah, I did come out and say losing the shows and the income turned out, the number I used was 75,000. I said that because I felt like I needed people to feel what was happening. And the truth is we had an anonymous donor pop in with 10 grand after I came out with that the first time. I don't know who it is. For all I know, it's a regular donor who, but the fact is, that was money that didn't happen. Where I'm struggling right now is we've got our normal spring campaign happens now too. I don't know how many of you do spring fundraising campaigns, but so now it's a question of, the question was earlier, do you ask for this and this? Do you ask for this together? Or you go with that? And we've had a lot of conversations on that. And, we're going to figure it out. But, the bottom line with my board, the board's been great. I do have the advantage, that Lonnie alluded to, of having gone through this before. So there's a certain amount of just tell us what we're going to do that I don't normally have the luxury of having in the boardroom. So, we've played around with a lot of where we're going to go with things along the way. But I agree with what Matt said his board told him to do. I think that we're going to plan a new season. We're going to announce a new season. I'm just never going to hesitate to say, look, these things are changing. The ground is standing in an earthquake. I think I used in one of the letters I sent out. We're standing in an earthquake right now. We don't know what the ground's going to do under us. So I don't know how much I answered that for you, Stephanie, except to say that yes, my idea with the Grand at Home program is that content, whenever it involves me, is a message I intend to try to deliver in a way that it'll stay up there and be a resource for people to know what's going on in my head or collectively in the Grand's head.
Thanks, Joe. Lindsay?
I'm wondering, has anybody had luck getting donations through virtual concerts? I know it's not gonna be a lot, but has anyone been doing that? Yeah.
Jackie? Hang on, you're still on mute. Can you
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We've done 2, and we have a third one coming up. We had a lot of traffic, people watching them. I really liked what I saw Wausau, what Sean was doing, where he said, donate the value of a drink. That at least puts it in, I think, would help give people an idea. Fortunately, the musicians worked really well with us and gave us a really nice rate. But honestly, we raised a few $100s. Wasn't super successful that way, but as far as our mission goes, I think it was successful because we were out in front of them. We were letting them know we're still here, still providing, maybe a much needed rest from all the bad news. So.
Thanks, Jackie. Terry?
Sure.
Yeah, we're doing with the show called Tiny Tent Show. So we're doing on Friday nights with, we're a little bit different because we have a resident band. So it's kind of easy to get them all together. But they're not working and they don't have savings and they don't have, they need to work. So all the money that we're raising is going directly to the musicians. And so far we've raised through sponsorships and online donations enough to cover paying them and paying Michael Perry, who's in the same boat. And it's been really fun in that on Facebook, you can see everybody joining and they're your patrons and they're really appreciative of the fact that we're gathering on Friday nights, even though we've had a really hard time with the technology. It's been at times embarrassing. Michael Perry calls it the hinternet where he lives, and Ed Willett too. He's out in the middle of nowhere and his online speed is just terrible. So it's been humbling, but people are super forgiving and they're making $50 and $100 gifts, and it's keeping us in front of them anyway, and it's keeping us busy, and it's paying, some money to the musicians. And so I think it's been really worth it.
Thanks, Terry. Lindsay?
I guess this is sort of a shift in discussion, but going back to how we can work with our donors, and I know we're all at slightly different parts of our seasons, but this is the time where I would be talking to sponsors and we'd be getting our brochures ready to go, and like many of you. But a big benefit to our sponsors is having their information in our season brochures that get mailed out to all of our patrons. But just because of the timing, we are likely going to launch our season brochure just digitally at first to give sponsors more time to make those commitments because they don't know where they're going to be at. And I would hate for our sponsorship, for one of our sponsors to decide, no, we can't support you this year because of this brochure deadline. This will help maybe give them more time. So if you haven't considered that already, I'd recommend that.
That's a good idea. Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a whole discussion in and of itself, but I think so many of us are in the TBD, mode of, we'll kind of get a brochure designed and it's just going to sit there until it seems like the right time to send to the printer and the mail. So, Mary?
We've been having a very similar discussion and about doing it initially just digitally so we could change it and add to it or subtract before it goes out. The other thing I'm wondering, as long as we kind of went down this path, is if everyone is delaying their kind of that announcement of the season and initial orders. We always had a date in mid-May that we opened up ticket purchasing to our season subscribers. And then from there it went to what we call our friends. And by mid-June, we were on to the general public. But not knowing if we can even have a bunch of staff in the office by the day that it would go to the general public, which is usually the phones ringing nonstop, I'm thinking we have to delay that whole thing, not just the print brochure, but the tickets going on sale and the announcing it and all of that stuff. So I'm kind of curious, if you don't mind going off topic, where other people are with that kind of scheduling.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, I've been looking at the same thing. Like, I'm not going to send out the brochure and say tickets are on sale if I don't have a box office open. So, Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, we're in that boat right now. We would normally have announced our season on April 20th, so on Monday, and had a brochure ready to go out at that point. And we made the decision a few weeks ago to delay that until May 15th, but we aren't really announcing that that's the date we have in mind because we don't want to commit and then decide that we need to pull it back even further and hold a little bit longer. So we, as people have asked us, we just said sometime in May, hopefully, and we've been very tentative with it. What I'm finding is that our patrons are very understanding about that. Like, they understand that we don't really even know what might happen in the fall. And so, when I tell somebody that, they say, okay, well, we'll just keep an eye out, we'll wait and see what happens. So I think for the most part, people right now are very understanding, but we have pushed back season ticket deadlines and a lot of that kind of stuff because we don't feel that we can be ready to go on sale right now.
Thanks, Jen. Josiah.
Hey, afternoon, everyone. I'm in a different boat, I think. I feel like I've been a little behind on keeping everyone updated just because I work at the grocery store here in town. So I've been putting in a lot of hours this last month, and so I've been kind of stressed, to say the least, with that. But we have a board meeting scheduled for Monday, and I think that's going to be the big meeting where we're going to discuss, are we going to delay everything at this point? We might consider just announcing the season sometime in the summer, or do something early, maybe in May, just say, hey, this is the season, but tickets aren't going to go on sale until, let's say, July or August or whatever it is. Because I got an email yesterday from the superintendent of the school, and they said, yeah, we're kind of in discussions right now about what happens if school is closed until June. What happens if we don't go back in the fall? What happens if we don't go back next year at all? And so while I was reading the email at work, my heart just sunk, because it was like, that means that I can't have a season because our building is attached to the school district. So we have to follow their rules and the state rules. And so I'm kind of just scared at the same time, but we are still hopefully going to plan on having a season. But right now I'm just like, what are we going to do about it? And then to go back to mailings and stuff like that, the board president and I kind of had an email conversation, and we are planning on sending a mailing to our current sponsors just to say, hey, we're here, we're still working, this is what we're doing, and then say, hey, we'll contact you within 10 days or whatever to see with any questions or comments or whatever it is. So we have that conversation, because right now Watoma is kind of quiet in a sense, because a lot of the businesses are closed. We have a lot of restaurants that are still open, but we did have one that closed because they're like, we can't do this. We can't keep up and do this because we're not getting the service. So I have to really consider them as well, because they are our donors and our sponsors as well. And so they're going through the hard times too. So I'm trying to just wiggle our way into it too as well. But no, it's been painful, I say, a little bit, just because of working at the grocery store and stuff like that. But it's good to see everyone. I love this conversation, but that's what I got right now.
Thanks, Josiah. Yeah, I think a lot of us that are connected with colleges and schools are going to be in a different boat too, because businesses may be able to come back open, but schools may not come back, or they may continue virtual learning. And so that's going to be a whole new set of challenges. Matt, go ahead.
I've been talking with my marketing director, who's generally smarter than I am. And she explained it to me in a way I hadn't really thought about. You know, we're all focused on our businesses and what's normal, and we need to keep our patrons engaged. Everyone's lives are completely upended. And probably the last thing our normal patrons are thinking about is, I haven't seen the Capitol's new brochure. So I think we all have plenty of leeway to do what's right in our particular communities, our particular markets, for our particular patrons. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Thanks, Matt. You know, and that kind of leads into the thought of, you know, when we do all come out of this, you know, a lot of people and, you know, experts in the field or whatever have said, you know, audiences are going to be different. Patrons' perspectives are going to be different. There's going to be the very real impact that they may be buying less tickets because of their financial situation. We're probably going to see an impact on our audience sizes, on our sales and things like that. But then even when we're back open, there's going to be a grace period of how comfortable people feel sitting shoulder to shoulder in a theater. And, you know, that's going to definitely impact our industry more than, you know, the department stores and, you know, the other businesses get to open back up. So Joe and then Kim.
I just have a couple of things, and then I've got to log off. So first, having got, again, what I recall about 2009, 2010, and we were closed for 18 months. And I was posting daily. There was all kinds of stuff to happen. But as I came out of that, it took 2 years before people figured out that I was open again. They had other things, other entertainment options. They had other theaters. They had other places to go. Ironically, these people would donate still, but I would say, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know whether announcing the season is the right way to do it, but staying in front of everyone is really critical, I think, right now. At least that's the game we're playing. So that, and then before I log off, I just wanted to share this with you. I've been looking at everybody's faces, and all I can tell you as a survivor of a closure is that your communities are looking, our communities, bless you, are looking at us right now. And if you're not an actor, you are now. You don't have to be Pollyannish about it. You don't have to be waving a flag about it. But boy, we don't want our boards or our people to feel like we are terrified into paralysis. It's important to remind people whenever you get a chance, and that includes your boards, that of what you're doing, right? That we're not sitting and letting it happen to us, but that this is how we're handling it and you can do that with the uncertainty of, gee, I don't know where this is going to go, but I mean, I'm a person who tends to think about, 4 different things that are going to happen after the event that I am about to do, and play it that way. So I suppose that, you know, it's a curse most of the time, and it's probably an advantage in crisis. But if your people sense that you're paralyzed with fear, they'll be paralyzed with fear too. And it's not that they're going to forget you. It's, you know, what's different again for me here is there's just so many other things. We got to make sure people are eating. We got to make sure people are dying. You know, no one died because of the Grand's roof. You know, this is a whole different. And then there's a segment that don't believe it. And this is, you know, it's time to lead. You know, even if you don't like it, and it's time to smile, even if you don't feel like it. So that's where these meetings come in handy. I'm sorry to leave you right now, but I'll drink with you anytime on screen to help practice smiling at each other. And good luck to us all. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe. Have a great day. Yeah, that's also one of the things that I had read or listened to, that, you know, they said those who are working and planning and moving forward now are the organizations that are going to emerge from this and continue to survive and then thrive, as Anne mentioned this morning too. And yeah, it's just, there's just so much. I'm going to stop talking. Mary, you're up.
I actually have two quick questions for the group, sort of related to funding. One is in terms of cash flow. I'm wondering how people are handling the requests for refunds, credits, etc., for all the shows that were canceled. If you're doing those now, waiting till you have staff back in the office, encouraging credits or what. And my second question is whether anyone else applied for the PPP program funding, and if you have heard yet. I am happy to say I did hear yesterday that ours was approved. And because we did not have a healthy reserve, I actually had laid off a large number of people, including some full-time staff, but that will allow us to bring them back on at least for the next 8 weeks. I'm just wondering how that has played out for other people across the state.
Thanks, Mary. And yeah, I think the CARES Act and the PPP could be like a whole Zoom discussion hour in and of itself. So we can certainly, if there's interest in that, you can do a thumbs up in the chat or something, let me know, and we can put that together even for next week, just so everybody can kind of compare notes on those issues too, if we don't have time here today. Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I can only answer the first question, but we are in the process right now of calling all our patrons. So for any events that we rescheduled, rescheduled or canceled, we're calling every ticket holder. So there are 3 of us that have these fancy headsets like I'm wearing today, that are using a computer software program so that we can call. It looks like it's coming from Viterbo, not from my home, which is great. But we are calling all patrons, and we're trying to encourage them as much as possible for things that have been rescheduled to just keep their tickets. But obviously, if somebody can't attend, we've got options for them. What we've done is we have a script that offers them 3 options. The first option is a gift certificate for something they could use for next season in the amount of the tickets. The second option is a refund. The third option is a donation to our Stars of the Arts program. And I've sandwiched it that way so that the refund option is not the first or the last thing they hear, to try to encourage them to remember either the first or the last thing that they hear and go with one of those options instead. So we're finding that most people, we've actually done very few refunds so far. Most people are either just keeping their tickets if it's been rescheduled. We've gotten quite a few donations of people that said, you know what, I don't need it, just keep it. And then some people who've done gift certificates because they know they're going to buy something next season. So the refunds are pretty minimal, and we have the benefit of the university cash flow situation and reserves to be able to cover those right now.
Jen, what is that software that you're using?
There's 2 parts to it. There's a VPN connection. So I have to have a VPN on my computer that allows me to connect to the university network remotely. And then once I'm into the university network, then there's a program called Jabber. that is the actual calling software. And so I place the call on my computer. I can't receive calls, but I can make calls, and it looks like it's coming from the General University number. So I have to do that through my computer.
Thanks, Jen. I'll just quickly say, I don't have that software, and I don't want my patrons all having my cell phone number. So what I've done is I've put on my outgoing box office message that the box office is closed indefinitely, and that if they need to contact the box office, there's an email. And so I'm responding to emails from patrons because the box office email just kind of filters straight into my inbox. And so I'm processing refunds and things that way. If people are uncomfortable emailing me their credit card information, which I do need, I've told them that one option is to leave that information on the secure voicemail, and then I call into the voicemail, get that information, and I can process it and then email them the confirmation and the receipt. So that's kind of how I'm handling it right now. Sally, go ahead.
Regarding the refunds, our board had voted to actually issue checks back to everybody who had purchased tickets for our April 3rd show. So I ended up going in and issuing actual refund checks before our office closed. We actually mailed out the day that we heard we had to close. So we kind of came in under the wire on that one. But I was kind of disappointed because I thought that we might end up getting some checks back or getting people to just take a gift certificate or something. So our cash flow is like really dwindling quickly. We have received a few checks back that were written back over to the Arts Council. It's kind of difficult because I can't access any of our programs at home. So I go in once or twice a week for just a few hours and take care of things that way. But I'm a little bit concerned about, did anybody else just refund everything? Because it's, I don't know, this is the first time we've done anything like this.
Thanks, Sally. I know that I think most of us probably have done kind of what Jen had said, where you give them an option of donating the ticket or, you know, getting a gift certificate or the refund, and then, you know, letting them decide. I don't think I've ever done just straight refunds, because I think there's always going to be somebody who either just like never calls you back, and so then you just keep their money, and so it's that's kind of the weird one for me, that it's like it doesn't, I don't necessarily put it into it just sort of stays in the ticket income pot. I don't actually move it over to a donation if they never request it, so that's kind of a weird one for me. But yeah, I think, you know, just I don't think I would just automatically just refund people and send people money if you know, if they don't request it. Matt, go ahead.
We studied the state's rules closely, and there are essential functions in our business that is closed. That I actually have someone in my box office which is completely isolated from the rest of the building every day, and they're making calls, they're processing the credits, they're processing the donations, they're arranging refunds, they're also processing incoming checks and memberships and other donations that come in. All of that goes to the box office, so that happens. And then on the other end of the building, I have my finance person in a couple times a week to pay bills, to handle the accounting software. I come in for a few hours, but we're always one at a time in the admin area, with normally be 4 of us. We take shifts, so there's only one. We never overlap, and we do a lot of Zoom. But that's how we're kind of, my tech guy is coming in and working on projects alone elsewhere in the building by himself. So that's our situation.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone else? We're at 1:30, so we've had about an hour. I'm willing to go over the hour mark if there's still conversation. otherwise, if there's really no other questions or comments, we can wrap it up at this point as well if people have other meetings to go to. I got a thumbs up from Mary. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up then. So I'm glad we fit it into an hour. That's pretty awesome. And I'm going to stop recording. Let me do that.